Kia ora te whānau. Welcome to the next video in the HCI series about Jacob Nielsen's usability heuristics. This video is about the sixth heuristic, recognition rather than recall. To demonstrate the difference between recognition and recall, let's test your memory. First, I'd like you to think about whether you've seen either of these women before. Next, I'd like you to try and figure out which one of these women, yep, they're different people, is primarily known for being a musician. These two thought exercises were recognition, checking for familiarity, whether your brain has seen these women before. Now, can you name each one? This is recall. Recognition was checking whether this information is familiar to you, whether you recognize the faces on the screen. But recall requires you to actually access specific information from your memory. I'll give you the answers at the end of the video. Also, please don't stress. 1, this won't be on the exam, and 2, if you're not good with faces or names, that's kind of what this heuristic is about. Recognition rather than recall is about minimizing the user's memory load by making elements, actions, and options visible. The user should not have to remember information from one part of the interface to another. Information required to use the design, such as field labels or menu items, should be visible or easily retrievable when needed. Have you ever played Google Roulette? This is a great example of recognition rather than recall, and something other teachers will probably know pretty well. When you start typing a search into Google, it will start trying to anticipate what you're about to search, and those options appear below the search box. These suggestions are a combination of common searches used by other people, and also your prior search history. Google handles 5.6 billion searches per day, and because the suggestions are informed by every person who has ever Googled anything, ever, the suggestions can get pretty intense. So if you ever have to Google something while your display is projected for a group of people, hot tip, freeze the display while Google does its thing. You're welcome. Let's talk about the difference between recognition and recall so you can understand why one increases usability. Recognition is when you recognize something as familiar. Our brains have an amazing capacity for this. Just think of every song you've ever listened to and the fact that your brain can still recognize them when you hear the opening bars of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Recall takes a lot more brain power because it requires your brain to find the information and retrieve it. Think of going to your local bookstore and asking them if they have a book that you want in stock. The clerk can look it up on the system and see that, yep, they have that book. That's recognition. But going to actually find the book? That's recall. A fun game to demonstrate recognition versus recall is Mic Drop. Next time that you're with a group of friends, hopefully once we're out of lockdown, or your class, get in a circle and nominate someone as the DJ. Put a bottle, banana, hairbrush, or anything that could be used as a fake microphone, the funnier the better, into the middle of the circle. The DJ picks popular songs and will play the first few seconds of the song, no more than 10 seconds. The first person to jump into the middle of the circle gets the microphone, and the DJ stops playing the song, and then the person holding the microphone has to continue the song right from the beginning. This is a lot harder than it looks because we tend to remember specific details about songs for their chorus, not their opening bars. So it's pretty funny watching your friends completely flub lyrics, tunes, and generally make a fool out of themselves. Recognition is hearing the first few seconds of the song and knowing which song it is, but when the DJ stops playing the music, you're thrown into having to recall the rest. There are 3 things that affect recall, and this is about your brain, not user interfaces. So if you're wondering how to ace your exams, stay focused. Let's refer to packages of information as chunks. Think of that book at the bookstore that live in your brain. These 3 factors influence how easy it is to recall these packages and find them when you need them. The first is practice or frequency, how many times you have accessed this chunk in the past. Think of a chunk like your keys or your face mask. If you use it all the time, it's easier to recall where it is. That's why it's unlikely you're ever going to forget the PIN that you used to unlock your phone, or your own name. The second is recency, which of course can relate to frequency. If you've accessed a chunk recently, it's easier to find it again. And of course, if you use a chunk all the time, frequency, it's likely that you'll have recently used it, which makes it easier for your brain to recall. But this is also why we get so frustrated when we lose something that we've just had. I just had it. Where is it? Context also affects recall, and this is an interesting one. Have you ever seen a teacher outside of school and momentarily blanked on their name, or whether you know them at all? That's context at work. If we see something, but it's not in the context that we're used to it being associated with, it's harder for us to recall. On the flip side, this is why talking through your thought process can actually help you remember things. If you can't remember the capital of France, you might start talking about the Arc de Triomphe, or the Eiffel Tower, the City of Lights, and eventually your brain will probably trace a path back to Paris. Let's have another recognition versus recall test. Can you remember which person created the 10 usability heuristics framework we're studying? Okay, how about now? It's a bit easier, right? And that's essentially what this heuristic is all about. Making it easier. Reducing cognitive load makes tasks easier. The less effort we have to put into a task, the more likely we're going to do it. Let's have a look at this in action. Alrighty, now let's imagine we're in that ideal world where travel is open again, it's post-pandemic, and I want to go and travel in Mexico. And I've heard that Oaxaca is a really awesome place to go in Mexico. Problem is, I can't remember how to spell it. What am I going to do? I know that it starts with O, so I'm going to try O, and then, I've got some options. And then, there you go. First one on the list, Oaxaca. Done. That is recognition rather than recall at work. Let's recap for retrieval. The sixth Nielsen heuristic is recognition rather than recall. It's about minimizing the user's memory or cognitive load by making elements, actions, and options visible. There are 3 factors that influence cognitive load: frequency, recency, and context. User interfaces can be built to account for these factors and provide information and prompts exactly where you need them. Hopefully, you've noticed that many heuristics work together in specific features that are common to many user interfaces today. Heuristic 3, user control and freedom, and Heuristic 5, error prevention, have a strong relationship to each other, and I'll get to that in the next couple of videos. User control and freedom creates trust through user confidence, which can be further supported by safety and security. And with recognition rather than recall, it can work really well with other heuristics like flexibility and efficiency of use. And that's the next heuristic we're going to learn about. Namihi kia koutou. Thanks for watching, team. Remember, you can always reach out by email, through Discord, or by coming along to our class sessions if you need any help. From me and Gary, kia kite, kia homaru, te noho.